Follow Paddy Power on Snapchat. The username is @ThePaddyPower, and we promise there won't be any boring snaps about gigs, the weather or the gym.
Hello and welcome to this Monday Postcast. I'm Maddie Plough, joined in the studio by Nick Watts, and we also have Tom Siegel and Paul Binfield from Paddy Power on the line as well. Now, Wattsy, we've been discussing what we've all been up to over the weekend. Now, I know Steve Palmer was talking about how he went to Disneyland, and obviously he's just had a really good day with Tiger Woods winning yesterday. But you've been spending your time off in an eco-pod in Gloucestershire.
Yeah, the glamour of it, hey? Yeah, two nights in an eco-pod in Gloucester.
What's an eco-pod, Watsy?
That's what I asked.
It's just one of these kind of cylindrical, new age wooden things which has got a bed in it and a few other bits and pieces, and it's like a shepherd's hut kind of thing. It's the kind of new way of holidaying and living and that kind of stuff. And yeah, the missus booked it for me for my birthday, and it was good fun. We went down to Bath as well, which is probably the glamorous part of it compared to Gloucester. Not a well-known holiday destination, but Bath, much more like it. Really, really good place. And yeah, it's just nice to switch off for a few days, forget about the racing. And I went to some thermal spa place in Bath. It was amazing. Outdoor pool.
Have you got a big woolly beard as well?
No,
you're in an eco-pod and now you've gone to a thermal spa. What, you'll be saving the whales as well?
Yeah, it's all about sustainable living these days, Tom. You've got to play your part. So I thought I'd fly the flag for it and stay in an eco-pod and do all these.
I'm totally with you on that.
New things.
So would you give that a go, Tom? Eco-pod living?
Definitely, yeah. I love all that sort of stuff. Yeah, I'm not booking it up now, but I might get the missus involved and have a look. It sounds really good.
It's on a golf course as well, Tom. I had 9 holes while I was there. It's beautiful.
That's even better.
The missus drove the buggy for me. She had a whale of a time. She loved it, in control of the buggy.
There we go. You've blown it, haven't you? You've turned from good eco-warrior to being Mr. Sexist in the matter of one sentence.
Well said, Tom. So you were watching your son play football, as per usual, in your shorts. You were quite creeped out when I said I knew that, didn't you?
I was, yeah. It was blimmin' freezing, wasn't it, on Saturday and Sunday morning? Did you feel it really felt like jump racing time, didn't it? It was really cold, and yeah, I made the mistake of going in my t-shirt and shorts to watch my son play at 9 o'clock on Saturday morning. I was freezing.
Wouldn't have liked to done that. Before we actually talk about some horse racing, which is what we're here to do, Binners, a quick update from you. You were in Newmarket on Saturday morning, were you?
Yeah, popped in to see John Berry, Maddie. We saw Roy Rocket in his glory ahead of the open day, and then I went on to Ipswich Bolton Wanderers in the afternoon, which was probably the worst game of football I've ever seen. Just quickly, I'm no Maddie Plough, but just at Doncaster, a couple of guys came up to me and recognised me. Martin and Lewis from Bolton upon Dearn, a father and son team, one a former minor. And we had a drink with David Ashforth, which was most entertaining. So just a quick mention to those two.
Binners, you get to do what you want on these podcasts. A different shout out every week. Anyway, we'll start off with some midweek racing now. There's a card at Goodwood on Wednesday, including the listed Foundation Stakes twice over. Won this in 2009, so it has a decent roll of honour. And there's a claimer, which I thought was quite interesting, which Racing Post colleague Tom Collins tipped me onto. South Seas Muckalal and Examiner all running in a claimer, so that's pretty rare. Did you have a look at the card, Watsy?
Yeah, I was like, I was interested in the claimer. I mean, how the mighty have fallen. South Seas a couple of years ago was a top prospect and was a good 2-year-old. Now he's up for grabs if you want to buy him after the race. And then, like you said, interesting listed race. I thought Threading was quite interesting. She's very, very inconsistent, but she has won at Goodwood before. She has finished second to Alpha Centauri this season, and she is favoured by the weight. She's joint top rated with first sitting, but gets £10 off first sitting. So if she's on a going day, she'll be the one that takes all the beating. It's just, she is hard to predict.
Tom, did you have a look? No, we'll go over to Binners then.
Hello, Maddie. Yeah, I did get a chance to have a look at that. I'm quite interested in seeing the former Cambridgeshire hero Sparkplug in the listed Foundation Stakes for Brian Meehan. Twice been placed at this level at this track, so could go well in the listed race.
Yeah, it could indeed. Have we got Tom back?
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, it went a bit nuts there on my end. Talking about those claimers, I think they're great races. They're new things, aren't they? And I mean, they're valuable claimers. That's the difference. It's 20 grand to the winner. So we're talking about proper races, and that's why these horses are running. I think they're a great idea, Maddie. I think you can get, a horse like South Seas. It's really hard to win a race, isn't it, these days, off a mark of 102. goes in a claim and he can win 20 grand. I presume he's about 40 grand to claim. So it's like, if you want him, the owner, I know he doesn't care, the owner of South Seas particularly, but you get 60 grand, if you win if you win the race. So I think it's a great idea, these good claimers.
Yeah.
I think the point of putting up some prize money for them means we'll get better horses in them, and horses like Examiner and South Sea, it's really hard to win your money, isn't it? These days, rated.
And I think as well, send them to a new yard, get them a bit rejuvenated. There are races to be won with them.
He's raced 102. He could win loads of races, couldn't he? But but Andrew Baldwin clearly thinks 102 is tricky for him, and it has been, isn't it? So, 18,000 for the winner, nearly 19,000 plus the claiming price. I think they're great ideas. As for the listed race, well, I sort of given up on threading. I was a big fan of her at when she ran at Ascot, and she did. To be fair, I didn't realise she was bumping into Alpha Centauri that day, and she ran a really good race. But she's been disappointing since. Judging by the weather we had here over the weekend down in the south, I can't believe it's not going to be very soft at Goodwood. And while she's got form in it, I don't think she'll love it. I know she ran okay in it last year when she won, at York, but York seems to be her track. She did win at Goodwood on soft ground on her debut, but by Exceed and Excel, I doubt it. So I thought First Sitting and Spark Plug, as Bin has said there, were the two.
Okay, moving on to Thursday's card at Newmarket. Tom, you're always a fan of the 2-year-olds, and the Tattersall Stakes looks like it could be a good race. We've got Boitron, who's unbeaten in 3 starts, and Prince Easy, who cost an awful lot of money and won at Ascot. What did you make of that race?
The Summersville's Tattersall Stakes, it is an old favourite of mine. I thought Boitron was very interesting. A friend of mine does the Sylvester de Souza column in one of those bookies' websites. And he was saying Sylvester got off and was really, really complimentary about Boitron last time. He said that the problem with him is he's been too keen, but even last time when he had the tongue tie on for the first time, he said he pulled really hard, and normally when horses do that, they fold up. He said there was loads left when he hit the line, so he's really very keen on Boitron as a horse. Personally, if you pull like that, it's going to struggle as you go up in trip. But I think he's a very interesting horse. Aiden's got a few in there, isn't he? I thought Cape of Good Hope and Cardini ran very well last time, didn't he? In that Doncaster race behind Too Darn Hot, having gone way too fast but still staying on. So I thought it was an interesting race. At the moment, I'd be looking at the one we mentioned first up, Boitron, but obviously prices will be the key.
Yeah, he's kind of a sexy horse
Yeah,
because he has sort of the 3 wins next to him. But in this sort of, last couple of weeks we've had some amazing 2-year-olds come out, and maybe he's one that's slightly gone under the radar a little bit for some people. Yeah,
possibly. I think, like you said, they've all come at once, and we're so excited about the crop, the top of the tree at the moment that, maybe he has gone a little bit under the radar. He's certainly got a good chance here. But Tom mentioned Aiden's one, Cardini, if he runs. I'd certainly be interested in him because you don't know with some of Aiden's 2-year-olds, it's been well documented the problems, the issues he's had this season. Cardini's been a bit of a slow burner, had a few chances before getting off the mark, but then, showed a massive upturn in form last time behind Too Darn Hot. I'm interested to see how that form works out anyway, because I love Too Darn Hot, love the winner, but I thought Cardini emerged with a lot of credit that day. It was a real leap forward, and sometimes Aiden's can just do that. They look, as though they could be fairly ordinary. Then they put a win on the board, then they run like they did last time, and he could all of a sudden be on the way up. So he's one of a few from Aiden's. He's not certain to run by any means, and I think he's got other entries elsewhere. But if Cardini ran, I'd certainly be interested in him.
Okay, Binners, and the final verdict from you.
Well, you mentioned Prince E.G. for Roger Varian, Maddie. Cost 2.6 million guineas as a yearling. Nice enough winning debut at Ascot. And David Milnes, your Newmarket correspondent, love his pieces in the Racing Post. And apparently that one worked well on the Lime Kilns trial ground last week. So I'm looking forward to seeing him.
Moving on to the Friday card at Newmarket now, we'll kick off with the 150 Muhara British EBF Rosemary Stakes. It's a listed race for the fillies and mares. 4 races here shown on ITV4. The Dick Hearn form comes into question in this race quite a bit because we've got Unforgettable Filly who won that race by 8 lengths, taking on Agritera who won the Sandringham once again. And Binners, first off I'll get to you. What do you make of this contest?
Well, Maddie, I'm quite a laugh aloud fan. We do have a little bit of betting on this. We go 5-2 Unforgettable Filly, 3 Agritera, 9-2 Laugh Aloud, 6 Curly, and it's 7 Bar. Looking forward to seeing Laugh Aloud back up to a mile, Maddie. She was a beaten favourite in the Sceptre Stakes at Doncaster over 7. But I'm willing to forgive her that. I love the way she won the Princess Elizabeth Stakes at Epsom a couple of years ago, and I think she'll bounce back.
Yeah, she did look a talented filly not so long ago, as you said. Tom, what did you make of the Dick Hearn, as I said last time, unforgettable filly? She looked to be losing her way, but she absolutely came right away from them then.
She was amazing, wasn't she? Couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. It was her best performance by £10, I would think. Hard to know what to think about that, really. It looked a bit of a fluke, but you know, she still won like by 8 lengths. I'd be more worried about the ground for her. I think when she ran in soft ground at Doncaster last September, she was tailed off last. She's been pulled out loads of times on ground. Now, it says good to soft at the moment, and there is not that much rain forecast for the week. So by Friday, it could be, but I don't think it'll dry up as quickly as it does. Never normally dries up that quickly at this time of the year. I think it'll be on the soft side at good maybe. I'd be slightly worried about that for her. Laugh Aloud, I've lost patience with. She's always a short price, and the last twice she hasn't looked anywhere near the filly she was last year. Yeah, once again, the Racing Post ratings will tell you she's running £10-15 below what she was last year. Now she might bounce back at a mile, as Binners says, but I don't want to be backing her at 4-1 with 2 runs now on the back of what she showed last year. Threading, I don't think will run. If she does, she's not got great form at Newmarket. Has she? Agritera.
Do you give her another chance, Tom?
I would, yeah. I would give her another chance. Once again, though, she's sort of one of those fillies, and I mean, Watsy will know this being a punter like me, that she was so impressive at Ascot, and she was so well bagged at Ascot that since then she started 10-11, didn't she, for the Haydock race,
yep,
and got beaten 11 half lengths, and then she went to France, and she was quite well punted there as well. She was, less than 3-1 to win a listed race in France, where Jamie Spencer changed tactics and made the running with her. Now, he might do that again, but she's suffering, I think, from everyone telling us she was a wonder filly once she won at Ascot, and she's 3-1. So I think there's reasons to think that there might be something in there lurking that might be the better value of better value. I'm a Bashira fan. I think Hence is a filly that's getting better, and down the bottom, Taginus could have gone well. So I'll be looking at the prices and trying to play against the ones at the head of the market.
Okay, what's over to you?
I quite liked Agritera. Actually, I'm not like Tom. I don't have to worry about the price sensitivity of horses first and foremost. So yeah, I mean, she might be a little bit on the skinny side, but that said, she's only put in one bad run really recently, and that was the penultimate start at Haydock. Bounced right back to her best, or somewhere near her best last time over in France, behind Poetic Charm, not beaten far at all. Yeah, I mean, hopefully she might drift a little bit. You don't know. She's had on the back of a couple of defeats. So the 3-1 might suddenly become a 4-1 or a 9-2, and she might become slightly more attractive. But yeah, I think generally she's holding her form well. Like I said, that one run aside, and I think she'd be the one I'd be looking for most.
She has shown that spark of brilliance. Hopefully she can recapture it. Moving on to the 225 Princess Royal Nayef Stakes at Group 3. Tom, I wanted to ask you about Sun Maiden here, because she looked really promising not so long ago, but what's happened?
Don't know. There was clearly very big hopes for her, wasn't there, after she won her Salisbury Maiden by 12 lengths. She went to Ascot. She ran perfectly well behind Magic Wand, didn't she? She was third in the Ribblesdale. She started 3-1 that day. It's the last 2 runs that have been been well below par. She was last, wasn't she, in the cross-counter DXP race, Gordon Stakes, and then she was lapped by Lati Dar. Now they are better fillies, better horses than she's racing against here, so she could easily bounce back. And I do think Frankels prefer a bit of give in the ground generally. Obviously, it's not written in stone that, but I think the ground might help her a bit. So I wouldn't be surprised if she bounced back. But I'm going to say the same sort of things I said about Agritera. She starts too short a price every time she runs. She's won a maiden. Every time she's run, she starts short price and she doesn't win. So for me, she's not the type of horse I want to entertain. Like Watsy says, if she hits 7 or 8-1, I think she's 9-2 now. I think Binner's said, then she's of no interest to me. But yeah, I don't know why they've got her so wrong. It's very unlike the stable to get a horse like that so wrong, considering her pedigree.
Binners, we will go over to you and just get a betting refresher.
Yeah, Sun Maiden is 5-1 actually, Maddie.
Sorry.
We go. No, don't apologise, Tommy. 7-2 Star Rock, 4-1 Mississippi, 5-1 Sun Maiden, 6 Broadway, 7 Crimson Rosette, who is my selection.
Okay, why do you like Crimson Rosette?
Well beaten in a Group 2 at Deauville last time, Maddie. trained by Charlie Fellows, who is really up and coming in my book. But this horse stayed on really well over this mile and a half in a listed race to win at the July meeting, and this might be the level that the horse can win at.
Not just your book, who Charlie Fellows is in, an up-and-coming trainer in, I'm sure. Excellent young trainer. He'll give you the final verdict. Who's your selection?
I'd give some maiden benefit of the doubt.
I knew you would, Watsy. I knew it.
He says this every week, doesn't he? How forgiving he is.
I'm a very forgiving person, and I mean, there's two ways of looking at it, isn't there? There's the first two runs when she was so promising, the third in Ribblesdale and all that, and you look at that and think, well, it's only a few months past. She can't have suddenly become awful or useless in that space of time. You wouldn't have thought so. The Goodwood run was disappointing, but I think you can always pass that off.
The market sort of knew, didn't it, I think, beforehand?
I think I'd always talking about forgiveness again, but I'd always give a bad one at Goodwood. I would always tend to maybe overlook that. And I just thought there was slightly more to take from the Goucher's run last time behind Larty Dar. Larty Dar was obviously a top notcher.
Yeah.
Ran very well in the St Ledger, very well indeed, and it was her first the rest nowhere. I just thought there was slightly more to take from that. Just an inkling that she might be getting back on track. And as Tom said, Frank Hall's easing the ground. That all adds up as well. And I'm going to give her one more chance anyway.
I hope your wife's as forgiving, Motsy, when she hears this and tells her that you enjoyed her caddying for you the other day.
She doesn't listen to these, Tom. I can get away with it. I can say what I like.
Can you though? That's
not
the thing.
When I email her. She can't.
Moving on to the 3 o'clock Shadwell Rockfell Stakes. A really interesting race this, because we've got the sort of proven guard of main edition, the Albany winner, taking on some more unexposed fillies. Binners, how did they bet in this race? I thought it was very interesting.
Well, we go 4-1 Zagitova, 5 Hermosa, 11-2. Your time is now 6 Foxtrot Live, and main edition 7 Just Wonderful, and it's 8-1 Bar.
Okay, Aidan O'Brien with a whole host in there. Watsy, we were talking beforehand because I asked you if you'd seen the win of Hidden Message. I thought she was really impressive on debut.
I quite like the way Hidden Message won that race. I thought it was quite impressive, you're right. And, I always look to the trainer quotes afterwards to see what they've said about the horse. And it's interesting, I think it's William Haggis's wife who did the talking that day. And, they said they've really taken their time with this filly. She's not going to be, an early sort or a sharp sort. They like her, and so they wanted to give her all the time, she needed to come good. And I like that when they say those kind of things, because I don't think they tend to rush horses that they think are potentially very good. So the fact she's made quite a late debut doesn't bother me at all. She won it very, very nicely. Now, whether they roll the dice and go for this race straight away from the maiden, we'll have to wait and see for the decks and everything. If she did turn up and they gave her the green light, then I'll take that as a real positive. And if horses like Zagitova are at the top of the market, I don't think that sets an impossible standard if she is a good one. And she's very interesting for me, yeah. Yeah,
I totally agree. Tom, I know what's he talking about, trainers giving horses time, but I've heard you say before that you think if it hasn't run, that's for a reason, and the good ones are usually out earlier.
I like horses that run, Maddie.
Yeah.
Simple as that. I mean, no problem. Maybe Hidden Message is going to turn into the next superstar, but I always think the best ones are out and running. They're the easiest to train. You can get them out there, you run them. Aidan O'Brien, who's probably the world's best trainer, runs horses week in, week out. No one's, everyone has a go at Mark Johnson. He's run this horse all the time. Aidan O'Brien runs them more.
Yeah.
And so I don't think, look at all his 2-year-olds in this. They've all had 3, 4, 5 runs. I don't see it being an issue at all. The one I like, actually, if he runs, is one of Aidan's. It was going to be my eye catcher for the week, Maddie. Pink Dogwood.
Yes.
Who ran at Garin at the weekend and won by 7 lengths. I was really impressed with her. Now, it was very heavy ground, and she clearly handled it very well, but she'd been beaten by some good fillies before that, and I think she is one of those fillies that is getting better with every run. She's going to stay well. Now, whether she'll run here when they've got Hermosa, Just Wonderful, and Zigotova in here, I don't know, but she would be the one that I would be interested in, because I think on what she showed at Garin last week, she's undoubtedly up to this class.
Yeah, when I loaded up the card, I saw she was a big price, and I thought maybe that was an indication that perhaps they'll go elsewhere. And Binners, I'll give the final verdict to you.
Yeah, a bit tricky this race, Maddie, isn't it, with Aidan O'Brien and all these possibles. But of those ones, I like Hermosa. She was third to Skitter Scatter in the Moyglaire last time. only beaten 3 1/4 lengths. She was beaten 6 1/4 lengths by the same filly in the debutante stakes. And these Galileos just seem to keep progressing, and she seems to be going in the right direction.
Yep, once again, we've touched on that. The 3:35 Shadwell Joel Stakes, we could see a repeat winner here in the shape of Beat the Bank, who won the Celebration Mile at Goodwood last time. Some good horses engaged, like Regal Reality and Mustachery as well. Binners, how do you bet on this one?
Yeah, you mentioned Mustachery. That one's at the top of the market, Maddie. 9-4 favourite, 11-4 Beat the Bank, 11-2 Regal Reality, 6 Astilio, 7 Deauville, and it's 8 Bar.
Going back to Beat the Bank, Watsy, it was a really messy race last time. I thought he did really well to come through and win it.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you on that. You know, when I first watched it, I thought, God, he's struggling here. You know, I thought it was a race. It was a good race for him, and I thought it was one he would have won more comfortably. But you know, fair play to him for pulling it out of the fire and being so strong close home. And you know, you rewind a year, and he absolutely hosed up in this race. Now, I would say this is stronger. I think he beat a horse called Sir John Lavery last year, who didn't turn out to be one of Aidan's best. So I'd say it's quite straightforward for him to have won last season. But he's obviously held his form this season as well. And there might be a bit of mileage in this price. When Binners was reading it, I hadn't heard the betting forecast beforehand. I thought he would be the one they'd base it around and he'd be favourite. He's not. He's second favourite. So yeah. I'm quite happy to go in with him again.
I agree. And Tom, you liked his run in the Queen Anne, didn't you, Beat the Bank?
I did like his run in the Queen Anne, and I backed him to win the Sussex Stakes as a result. But it's a bit disappointing now. I was fiddling about with my computer, and I missed what price Binners had accidental agent in, because how things have changed.
10-1, Tom.
10-1. How things have changed over a couple of weeks, haven't they?
Yeah.
Accidental agent beat the Bank in the Queen Anne, didn't he? And everyone was, everyone was talking about him being a good horse. He's finished last next time, and all of a sudden he's 10-1 to win a Group 2. So whether there's some mileage there, I don't know. I'll have to have a good look into the race, but I don't think he'll mind the ground. And while his best form's at Ascot, I do think we have short memories, don't we, in this game? And he was whether it was a fluke or not, he won the Queen Anne at Royal Ascot. And while he'll have a Group 1 penalty to cover, he's only giving £2 to Beat the Bank and Mustachery, and on form he's better than them, isn't he? Or at least as good as them, and now he's 10-1.
Yeah, it's a close-knit bunch, the milers this year, aren't they? Binners, I'll give you the final verdict. Beat the Bank. Are you on his side or not?
No, I think he can get beaten. I'm not sure if Deauville's going to run for Aidan, Maddie, but that third to Roaring Lion in the Irish Champion Stakes, in my opinion, sets the standard. Although I love listening to the expert analysis on this show from your experts. And a
collective giggle there, I think, said always needed to be said.
A reproduction of that, and I think Deauville can win this, Maddie. Yeah,
I did think he could be a big price if he turns up. Any other fancies for the midweek racing, Nick? Anything caught your eye?
Crikey, Maddie, we've been through enough races already, haven't we? I'm not sure I've got anything else for you. I think if Cardini, I talked about him before, but if Cardini ran in that Somerville Tattersall Stakes, I'd be very interested with him. I'll put him up as my midweek fancy.
Excellent. Over to you, Tom.
Well, we didn't mention her when I was banging on for hours and hours about Sun Maiden, but I did think Star Rock was unlucky not to win to beat Roger Varian's filly in the race at Goodwood, Pilaster. I thought she was really unlucky not to beat Pilaster in the Lily Langtree. I think she would have a very good chance of winning that listed race at Group 3, the NAF Stakes.
Okay, Binners, where are you out and about this week? What can we expect from you?
Well, I won't be going to Redcar, Maddie, but in the 325 on Wednesday, there's a pivotal filly called Gleeful for Roger Varian, beaten favourite at Newcastle last time, and I think she'll go there with a massive chance.
Brilliant. We'll get stuck into Saturday's Newmarket card after this short break.
Success ain't earned, it's bought. That's why at Paddy Power, we paid the big bucks for the best tech nerds in the world to develop our new, fastest ever app. Download the new app from the App Store or Play Store now. 18+, begambleaware.org.
Welcome back to this Monday Postcast. As promised, we're going to talk about Saturday's card at Newmarket now. Starting off with the Cambridgeshire big betting race, Binners. How's the market looking for this? Have we seen any money recently for one in particular?
Yeah, quite a bit of money for the three at the front, Maddie. Our odds compilers at this point can't separate Alfaris, Danceteria and Kinran. They're all 10-1 co-favourites. Then a number of horses on 12, including Kenya, Jar Bridge, Style Hunter, very talented. 14s, just one on 14 was Hick on. That's a tough one, that one. And 16 to 1 bar.
Okay, well, myself and Sam Lurry and the RPTV team are big fans of David Menisier. Obviously had a great day yesterday with his stable star Thundering Blue winning, but I quite like Dancer Terrier. I thought he ran well last time, even though he was beaten. Have you got your teeth stuck into one in this race?
I wouldn't say I've got my teeth stuck into anything yet. I mean, you look down the betting and there's quite a few you could fancy. One who did catch my eye was the one Paul mentioned, Whistler Hickon, trained by John Gosden. One bad run this season, really. It came in July, pulled too hard apparently, but went to Chelmsford last time out and won quite cosily over 1 mile and 2. And yeah, I think Whistler Hickon is the kind of lightly raised horse that I'm, the right kind of profile I'm looking for in this, and the right price as well. Slightly more exposed, but I think he's somewhere in the 20s, 25 to 1, something like that. Is Charlie Hills' horse Afak. Who has run well in big handicaps already this season, run really well at Glorious Goodwood, slightly unlucky 4th. Slightly below par again last time out, but I think the kind of peculiar distance of this race will suit him perfectly. It's not a mile, it's not a mile and 2, it's somewhere in between. I think that's ideal for him. So slightly more exposed than maybe you would like, but those would be my two at this stage, Whistler Hickon and Afak. Yeah.
Tom, and when you're sort of pulling a race like this apart, what does your criteria go like? How do you attack it?
Good question. I did an anti-post price-wise on this a month or so ago, Maddie, and I'm really just looking for an up-and-coming, progressive handicapper. I mean, normally my first start would be with a 3-year-old. 3-year-olds have a good record in this, and my first port of call was to look at John Gosden, because he's had Pipe Dreamer, Halling, proper Group 1 horses that have gone on to win this. So with Frankie booked for Whistler Hickon, I do think he's an interesting runner. Style Hunter was another one of Gosden's that I had a look at, but noticeably weak in the market before all the rain came, and he was pulled out at Newbury on Saturday. I wonder whether I might have overrated him, as I think Paul Keeley pointed out in the Racing Post. The form of his Goodwood win could hardly have worked out worse. I think all the runners I think only one's beaten one home or something. He was saying it's just terrible form. So I came up with boringly now. Well, they weren't boring at the time. Hopefully, Alfaris and Kynran, because while they were older horses, I did think that Alfaris was very, very interesting. I thought he won the Goodwood race pretty much as he pleased. He was well back that day, and he's got a very good turn of foot. Now, next time we went to York, and he was drawn in trap 18, right on the outside, trap 20, and he came right round the field, and he got into the race on the bridle, and he clearly, Pivowan, who was a very good horse with a good chance himself in the race, had got first run on him, and he got nowhere near him, and he sort of weakened in the last half furlong. I thought 9 furlongs would be perfect for him. William Haggis has a great record in all handicaps, but especially at the mile, over that sort of distance. So he would be on my list. And just Kynran for the soft ground angle. I think if it was soft ground there, he's been the unluckiest horse.
I find him
season.
So frustrating.
But it's not his fault, Maddie. When he ran at No, I don't. When he ran at Doncaster at the start of the season, he was. Do you remember it was the Lincoln day? He ran in the Constellation Lincoln, and the advantage being drawn on that far side was so marked. Trap 1 beat Trap 6, then came Karen Trap 19, then came Trap 5, then came Trap 8. He literally ran off his face to finish third that day. Went to Sandown, got touched off after being given a load to do from an outside draw. Yeah. Then he went to Ascot Ground too quick. But then he went, and then in York, he ran an absolute blinder over 12 furlongs, didn't he, in the John Smith's Cup. And last time ground was too fast again. So I think on soft ground, provided everything goes well, he's definitely a well-handicapped horse. Still, I think, despite creeping up the handicap for not winning. So those were my original two. Aiden's thrown a flanker by running Kenya in there or leaving Kenya in there. And I noticed that Jason Watson has been booked for Very Talented. He was third to Sparkplug in this race in 2016, if my memory serves me right. But he was another one of those that was first home on his side. He was on the far side, and Sparkplug and Carry On Derek came up this rail, basically. And he was first home on his side. Now, he came back and won a small little race at Chelmsford. I wouldn't like to call it small little race, because no races at Chelmsford are that small, because Firmament was in it, Mystical Madness. So it was quite a solid little race, and he was very well backed and won easily. So if he's
gorgeous horse, isn't he? I remember watching that race.
My issue is second time back for Side Binser horses. I like them first time. Second time, I'm so used to them disappointing. I don't know why. Remember we talked about that Frankel filly Dubai something that ran in the Mayhill at Doncaster the other day, and she was backed off the boards, but she ran no sort of race, and it's not a stable I like backing second time up. So as much as I like Very Talented as a horse, I'd be slightly concerned about that. So unoriginally, as I wrote a few months ago, Alfaris and Kyron look to have very solid chances for me.
Sticking to your guns then, and a word of caution about Very Talented. Binner's Cambridgeshire selection from you.
Well, I'm going to ignore Tom Seagal's second time back for Very Talented. I think he is very talented. A £4 penalty may not be enough to stop him. That reappearance was after 726 days. Some shrewd punters have got 33 to 1 about him for the Cambridgeshire. He's now 12 to 1, and I'll go with the boys in blue.
Okay, I'm really excited about the Middle Park. 10 Sovereigns is a horse I love. I love how he finishes off his races. But Jash looks a bit of a superstar as well. Emirati Anna, the Jim Crack winner, has since been bought by Shaker Bay too. So there's a few really interesting angles to this race. How do you bet them first off, Binners?
Well, we do make 10 Sovereigns quite a strong odds-on favourite, Maddie. He's 8 to 13, and it's 7 to 2 Jash, 9 to 1 the Jim Crack winner, Emirati Anna, 10 to 1 Sergei Prokofiev. I've got hugely better at pronouncing that. 14 to 1 Kadim.
Couldn't have
and
got
16. Worse. Well, yeah, absolutely. Tom. 16 to 1 Bar.
And Tom, how do you sum this race up? Am I getting a bit carried away, or what do you reckon?
No, great race, isn't it? As I say, sometimes we come to these races and we're sitting there thinking, 2-year-olds, a bit bored of them. There aren't any good ones. This, once again, another great race, isn't it? 10 Sovereigns has looked absolutely exceptional. The times will tell you he's got to be exceptional. I think 6 furlongs on soft ground will be perfect for him at this moment in the thing. I think he's the one to beat. Not sure whether he should be 8 to 11, because Jash looked really good too. His times
8 to 13, Tom.
8 to 13, even shorter Binners. Even shorter
Binners.
I know. Jash looked very good. Emirati Anna won the Jim Crack. I know a colleague of ours, Pietro Innocenzi, thinks that Cadem is one of the greatest 2-year-olds that's ever walked the planet. Personally, don't see it like that myself, but I get where he's coming from. He's looked very good, and he ran very well on his debut against Calix with a disadvantaged trip. So I think it's a great race. I wouldn't rule out Rumble in the Jungle bouncing back either. He looks exceptional in the Molecombe, and things went wrong at Doncaster.
What happened at Doncaster? Because that was bizarre. I thought he was travelling really well, and then nothing happened.
Yeah, he was sort of drawn away from it, didn't he? But he checked out really quickly. But I think they think that there was some issue there. So if they did run him, he's clearly very talented. So it's a great. I personally think 10 Sovereigns will win because everything he's done suggests he's top class. But it's a race I'll be sticking on the video and watching 20. Do we still have videos? Sticking on the Sky Plus and watching it 20 times over. Is that more like it?
Yeah, that's all right.
Do we?
I'm looking forward to seeing how 10 Sovereigns comes up the hill. I think he's the sort of horse that's just going to power away when he hits the rising ground. What's his strong opinion on this?
Only echoing what you've said and what Tom said, though, I think 10 Sovereigns will win. 8 to 13 is skinny, but I certainly wouldn't be opposing him on what he's done so far. He's looked exceptional, and as Tom also said, the times have been very good too. So I think he'll take in a good one to get close to him. I think Jash is promising, but it should be qualified. He did win at 8 to 1 on last time out, so this is a different story, I think, and this one for Ballydoyle.
Yeah, and the Cheveley Park, it shows another rematch between Pretty Pollyanna and Signora Cabello, who both ran in the morning last time. We've been talking about this filly and how she's, still a big price for the 1,000 guineas as the time goes on, Pretty Pollyanna, and it should be good to see her out again, shouldn't it, Tom? I
love her. She's great, and she was really impressive, I thought, in the morning. Even more impressive at Ascot at the time. What Duke of Cambridge is it? I can never remember races' names, but whatever race it was, she was really impressive that day. I think she's the best filly we've seen this season. I do think that Newmarket at this time of the year, when I presume the stalls will be on one side or the other, it can provide an edge. So it's not always that straightforward to win these races when you're a short price favourite. But I think on form, I think Racing Post ratings will have £8 or £9 clear of everything else. I think So Perfect will be next in. I personally thought that Lady Kaya for Sheila Lavery was an interesting horse. I don't think she stays 7 furlongs. She ran behind Skitter Scatter last time in the Moyglare, and she looked to be travelling best of all. And then sort of, she was held up out the back and came through on the bridle sort of thing. So I think drop back to 6 will help her. I think she's quite interesting, but to be honest, I think Pretty Pollyanna's a class above.
Yeah, it seems like it's been the plan for quite a while for Lady Kaya. Binners, what do you make of the race? Pretty Pollyanna. I mean, what price is she for the 1,000 guineas now?
Well, for the 1,000 guineas, Maddie, if you hold on with my technology,
Sorry.
I can tell you that now. So for the 1,000 guineas, she's an 8-1 favourite in the 1,000 guineas with Goddess, Skitter Scatter, Antonio de Vega and Fashion Star all on 16. For this race, Maddie, she's an 11-10 favourite with Signora Cabello at 7-2, 5-1 Fairyland, 8 So Perfect and Lady Kaya and Queen of Bermuda. I'd be a big Signora Cabello fan for John Quinn. She's been brilliant all season. She was only beaten 3/4 of a length by Pretty Pollyanna in the morning. And at 7-2 against the 11-10, I'd take a chance with her.
I was thinking the other day, John Quinn, he's such an underrated trainer, isn't he? I mean, he had the winner at Royal Ascot with the Wow signal. He won the Triumph, was it, with Countrywide Flame? He's a really good dual-purpose trainer. Nick, do you think Signora Cabello, she got any chance of reversing the form?
Yeah, I think she has. I think it's slightly more open than the market suggests. And the one I'd be interested in if she ran from Aidan O'Brien is So Perfect. I've been waiting for her to come out again for a long time because you look through her back form now and it's superb. She wasn't beaten very far by Signora Cabello at Ascot in the Queen Mary, and since then she's beaten Skitter Scatter, which looks fantastic form now.
Yeah.
Beat her in Ireland, and then last time out she took on Advertise. And again, acquitted herself really well. She probably pulled too hard in that race, but she still, Advertise probably won with a little bit in hand, but she still ran very, very well. And ever since then, with a Skitter Scatter coming out and keeping winning races, I thought, this So Perfect might actually be, pretty reasonable. She's 8-1 and the favourite is 11-10. So if Aidan gives So Perfect the go-ahead, I think, if you can believe that Skitter Scatter form when she beat her a couple of starts ago, that form is really, really strong. So if she takes her chance, I think 8-1 is a brilliant each-way price.
The value angle there. Moving on to the Royal Lodge, it gives us another opportunity to see Beatboxer, who's unbeaten in 2 starts, and Arthur Kitt as well. Is he going to give a boost to Too Darn Hot Solario win? He was second there, the winner of the Chesham, of course. Binners, how do you bet on this one? It looks a great race, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does look a great race. We haven't got any betting on this one yet, Maddie, so I will give you my selection. I'm going to go for the Chesham hero, Arthur Kitt, beaten 4 lengths by Too Darn Hot in the Solario, but Too Darn Hot looks to me to be the best 2-year-old we've seen this year, and I don't think that was any disgrace, and Arthur Kitt can bounce back in the Royal Lodge.
Are you in agreement, Tom?
Love Kadar, actually.
Kadar.
K-A-D-A-R.
Oh, yes.
Burke's horse, Scat Daddy horse that cost a lot of money for Phoenix Thoroughbreds. I thought he was as impressive a debut as not a Calix, not a 10 Sovereigns, and probably not a Too Darn Hot either. But I thought he was really impressive at Haydock when he won on his debut, beating a previous winner of John Gosden's Waldstern with a long way back to one of Roger Varian's. I think he's really good. I remember, I don't know, last week I think I was talking about how great Carl Burke was and how many Group 1 winners he's had. Well, his quotes about this one after he ran said that I would have no hesitation in going for the Guineas, as I think he'll be competitive. Now, many trainers I wouldn't care less whether they said that. And Carl Burke says it. I think I've got to sit up and take notice. I'm a big, big fan of his. I think he's one of the best trainers we've got, undoubtedly. His record says that. 9 Group 1 winners, more than Haggis, more than Stout, more than Saad bin Saror, in the last 3 years. He really is top class. Little bit disappointed that True Mason didn't win on Saturday, but nonetheless, I think Kadar might be his best 2-year-old. And if he turns up, I'd be a huge fan of his.
Yeah, Phoenix Thoroughbreds, they spend so much money, they do it that way. You've got to take a look at whatever they're entering. What do you make of it?
It's an interesting race, the Royal Lodge. It's one I really like, and trainers are very often creatures of habit, and Aidan O'Brien uses this race not particularly for his top 2-year-olds who are going to be top 3-year-olds. For example, he ran Nelson in it last year, who hasn't really done a lot this season. So although he's kind of got his usual block entry, and I thought Mount Everest was possibly the most interesting of those, I'd probably be looking elsewhere. And the other thing to say about last year's race, of course, it was won by Roaring Lion, one of my favourite horses of this season. That's when he kind of really sprung to prominence then. And John Gosden's got Beatboxer going this year, which I thought looked very, very good in both his starts so far. and I would be siding very much in his camp.
He's a
with
scat
Beatboxer.
daddy too, isn't he, Watsy? Both him and
Yep.
Kadar are by scat daddy. As you know, I bang on about pedigrees as long as I blinging can, but I think they're very interesting.
Yeah,
both those horses.
everything's going wrong your end, Tom. I'm feeling very sorry for your dog, who clearly wants your attention, and now the phone's ringing. So we'll do you a
The front door's
favour.
gone with the dog saying, "Yeah, open it for whoever's out there." My daughter's out there, and now the phone's gone. Sorry about that.
We'll give you an opportunity to catch up. We'll be back in just a sec.
Success ain't earned, it's bought. That's why at Paddy Power, we paid the big bucks for the best tech nerds in the world to develop our new fastest ever app. Download the new app from the App Store or Play Store now. 18 plus, begambleaware.org.
Welcome back for the final instalment of the Monday Postcast. We'll look back on the Ayr Gold Cup, which saw a dead heat between Son of Rest and Baron Bolt. What a spectacle that race was. Where was your money going?
You're right, it was a fantastic race, and I think if you joined in the gamble last week on Son of Rest, if you'd stopped the video a furlong out, you'd been counting your money the way it swooped to the front. And it happens in racing sometimes if you're on a horse like that and you get this really annoying one that just won't go away, and that happened to be Baron Bolt on this occasion, and he kind of ruined it for the Son of Rest backers.
Were you on Son of Rest?
No, I didn't have a bet in the race, but I think if you're on Son of Rest, you would have been counting your winnings a furlong out, and you'd be saying, "Can this other horse please go away?" And it never quite did that, and it forced a dead heat. So, fantastic finish. I don't think Baron Bolt would have been a particular. I'm not sure of many people who backed that or fancied it to win, but thrilling spectacle. I think it was the first time ever we've had a dead heat in the Ayr Gold Cup, and we all have a close finish, don't we? You just want to be on the right side of it, and it was kind of half and half this time.
Well, a lot of people thought Son of Rest, in the photo, it looked like he'd actually won, but, these things have got to be very careful. I think the British Champion Sprint has been mooted as a next point for him, possibly. Binners, did you enjoy the race on Saturday?
Absolutely, Maddie. The proverbial good thing, Son of Rest, just got caught by Baron Bolt to rescue the bookies. The great thing about it for me was the young and the old. Cameron Noble, the £5 apprentice, who's doing really well and looked a good rider on this occasion, winning the Ayr Gold Cup, which is huge for his career. But also, 77-year-old Paul Cole trained his first winner in 1968. Won the Derby with Generous in 1991 when he was champion trainer, and it was great to see Paul Cole back in the spotlight. He still does well with a less prestigious team.
Yeah, he's got a good 2-year-old called Dukes of Hazzard, hasn't he? And great to see his enthusiasm for the game shine afterwards. Tom, are all your issues sorted now?
Just. I've had 14 phone calls and 3 people at the door, but I'm ready. Where were we, Maddie? The Ayr Gold Cup.
You're far too popular. Far more popular than us.
I wish it was the hate mail.
Was it the police or Inland Revenue, Tom?
It could be either, Binners. That's the problem.
Yeah, the Ayr Gold Cup, Tom. Did you have a bet in the race?
I had a bet in the race. I haven't seen it yet. I was out all day, but I've seen the result. The one thing I think about sprint handicaps these days, and Watsy will have to sub my weekender copy in a minute and see what I'm. But I
raised eyebrows there.
I find it really, really difficult to work out where they're going to go in these races these days. All the trainers. Do you remember? I find it so funny when we have these draws before the start of the day. The start, and on Thursday, Tim Easterby comes on. So walk the track. Definitely want to be low, and Richard, we're going low. No one wanted high numbers, and yet all 3 cups went to horses drawn 16 or above. And so it was really confusing for punters of my ilk that are draw-based sprint handicap punters, because I think it's really hard now. It's really hard to know where they're going to go, so you can't sort of get involved in too much before you've seen, there's no point in betting on the Ayr Gold Cup since in the silver and the bronze, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
Unless you've got Son of Rest, which is obviously the difference about it. When you've got a horse that's clearly £10 well in, then you can do it. But I found it a confusing situation up at Ayr. Nonetheless, I think, as the boys have pointed out, the best horse dead heated, and it was nice to see Baron Bolt run so well too. I also thought Snazzy Jazzy was really impressive in the Silver Cup. I mean, he was the one that got away really, because drawn high, soft ground form from Ireland, better run last time at Goodwood. Clive Cox in a big handicap. I think he's won the Ayr Gold Cup before, didn't he, with that horse? I can never remember his name, but that was one that got away. And they're great races. I find them incredibly difficult these days, because it's either the favourite or something I've never heard of wins.
One horse you have heard of, though, True Mason. He was no match for Kessar in the Mill Reef. He travelled there came looking like he was going to win the race, Tom, but then he just got outpaced in the last couple of furlongs, strung out like washing, weren't they?
The ground was an issue there, wasn't it? It became a test of stamina. True Mason's probably a 5 furlong horse in truth. I didn't look it last time when he ran behind Pretty Pollyanna, but if you'd have stopped the race 2 furlongs out, I think you would have been 1-2, wouldn't he? Not 4-1. I think he got outstayed. But Kessar's very good. It's a horse I've been on about for all season. I think I unfortunately backed him when he ran in the Windsor Castle. I think he came last in the Windsor Castle, but then he came out and won the Cyrenia Stakes on the all-weather. I think he's pretty good. I don't think he's brilliant, but I think he's pretty good. He's not going to be winning a Guineas against the likes of the horses we've talked about, but I think he would have held his own in a middle park, that's for sure, this week. And so not all's lost for True Mason, that's for sure.
Yeah, there's two sort of angles to this, Watsy. I mean, I said to you it wasn't a great race beforehand, but at the same time he did surprise me a little bit with how well he pulled away and put that distance between him. But you're sort of the opinion that, there's better horses out there and we shouldn't get too positive about Kessar, if you like.
Yeah, I think that's what Tom alluded to. Nice performance, good display. There'll be others better than him. There'll be others better than him in his yard. There are. And everything gets exaggerated when you get a day like Saturday and, it really hammers down with rain all day and it turns the ground like that. It does become a little bit on, who will handle it the best. He obviously handled it best that day. I was just slightly off-put, I suppose, by, again, the post-race quotes. I think John Gosden mentioned there might be some races in Italy for him. And, if you're looking at races in Italy for your horse, then you're not going to be top class in this country. So that was, but it's still a good performance. And the other horse I liked in Newbury on that day was Young Rascal, who's coming back from a poor run in the Derby. He looks like he'd make a lovely jumper, actually, the way he galloped on that day. I'm sure that's not the plan for him, but he looks like he wants another mile. I think he'll be a cup horse next season. He looks just a slow, out-and-out galloper who relish those conditions, and I'm sure he'd stay a whole lot further than he's been running over. And I think the plan is to take him to France on Arc Week. Is there a race called the Chaudenay, something like that, over 1.7 miles? I think that's where he's going next, and I think he could be a big improver this season and next over long distances.
He's gorgeous. I love him. I do just wonder how important ground is to him, though. Do you not think? Fast ground?
Quite possibly, but if it is, then he's coming into his own at this time of year, so he's one to follow.
Spot on. Binners, a word on the Mill Reef from you, and any other horses catch your eye at Newbury the weekend?
Yeah, what's his knowledge of the programme book astounds me, Maddie.
I just read it before I came on.
well done, Watsy. I'm a big True Colbert fan, along with Tom, actually. True Mason really took my eye. A very interesting Colbert. Says that one will go back over 5 in the Cornwallis Stakes at Newmarket. That'll be interesting. Last year, PJ McDonald did an interview for you guys in the Sunday supplement. He put up Lawrence. I never backed her subsequently. This year, Ben Curtis put up True Mason. So I had to go on Saturday and sadly didn't quite get home. But a great race, and the winner, Kessar, we think that horse will be a sprinter next year. Commonwealth Cup 20-1, Maddie.
Okay, fantastic. Before we leave you, I'll just get one horse from each of you for your Racing Post tracker. Watsy, over to you first.
Yeah, luckily enough, I managed to catch the 1:30 from Hamilton today before we came on air. Kevin Ryan ran an unraced Frankel 2-year-old filly called East, who cost 310.
Oh, I saw
grand.
this, yeah.
Was in against horses much more experienced than she was, and she beat a lot of them. So that can only bode well. No fancy entries, but maybe she's just, she's obviously needed a bit of time. But East, trained by Kevin Ryan, definitely one to note.
Well done. Tom?
I mentioned her before, Maddie. I hope she runs this week. Pink Dogwood. Great name. Probably, I don't know. Binners, what's Pink Dogwood? Is it a flower?
Isn't it a hole at Augusta, Tom?
Is it?
I think so. I think it's one of the holes at Augusta.
Watsy, you are awesome if you're right. I'm Googling it now. If you're wrong, you are for it.
I was just about to agree with you, Tom, and say it is a flower.
Dogwood.
Yeah. What's he talking about?
It might be a hole at Augusta too, but it's not according to Wikipedia at the moment. It's a flower.
Goes with the theme, doesn't it? Rhododendron, hydrangea, pink dogwood.
Correct. I thought she was really impressive at Gowran in soft ground, and she was 3 seconds faster than the other 2-year-old race that day. She was just slightly slower than a 91 rated filly, 91 rated horse that won over the same trip the next time. I think she could be easily group class. I think she is group class, and I think she's one to follow. Pink Dogwood.
Fantastic. Binners?
Going to go for a horse called Chica Buena for the Curracundra Brendan Duke. He won a 3-year-old maiden hurdle at Ballinrobe last week, ending a lean spell for Brendan. She's not going to be a Triumph Hurdle candidate in March, but she's a brilliant jumper. She takes a length out of the opposition at every hurdle, and I think there's a couple more small hurdles, possibly a couple of handicap hurdles in her this season.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for joining us. There's your notebook filled. Don't forget, if you enjoy these shows, please rate, subscribe and review wherever you're listening to us from. Bruce will be back on Friday for a more detailed look at the weekend's action. And you can also catch our weekly golf postcast on Wednesday and football show on Thursday. Until next time, enjoy your racing, good luck with your betting and goodbye.
Check out Paddy's Rewards Club. Simply place 5 bets of £10 or more across any sport in a week and you'll get a free £10 bet the next week. T&Cs apply. 18+, begambleaware.org.